Captains, would you like to see more videos like these? What about more on-site coverage of special events and visits to Cryptic Studios? Then visit patreon.com/priority1 to find out how to become a monthly supporter of the show. Because without you, none of this would be possible.
Command codes verified.
Cool. All right, Captains, and joining us is Thomas Marrone. Thomas, the Cryptic Cat. Thank you for sitting down with us and chatting with us while on a Friday afternoon, on a holiday weekend, just getting ready for Delta Rising.
Oh, thanks for having me here. I'm glad you guys could come visit us. Congratulations on 200 plus episodes.
Thank you. All right, so Thomas, tell us about what you've been working on for Delta Rising and what players can expect to see on the 14th.
Okay, sure. Obviously, in Delta Rising, like any update we make to Star Trek Online, there's a lot of new UI, a lot of new systems, and I want to give a shout out to Jocelyn, the other UI artist on STO, who handled a lot of these systems. She did a really good job. So UI-wise, probably the kind of the fanciest one I think is going to be the specialization trees. And Jocelyn spearheaded these, and I think they turned out really cool. You know, they're skill trees that as you level up beyond level 60, you can, well, even, I guess, at, beyond level 50, you know, once you hit 51, I think you start earning points for your specialization tree. And then you, I haven't done that. This is a character on engineering, which I haven't actually played much past Vice Admiral, but so we have two types of specialization trees. We have a primary tree, and right now the only primary tree is intelligence. And then we have a secondary tree, and so we have two secondary trees right now. We have commando and pilot. And so you are able to choose if you want your secondary tree to be commando or pilot, and that's what this activate secondary button is up here. So when you activate a secondary tree, it activates this skill. So you get this skill even if you haven't put any points into your secondary specialization. And the same with your primary specialization. Everybody gets this intelligence officer buff while, you know, right now, because intelligence is the only primary specialization. Eventually we're going to fill this out and add more things. You're going to have more choices. So there might be another skill tree that is a primary specialization tree. So then you would have to pick, you know, am I going to use intelligence as my primary, or am I going to use something else as my primary? So this is going to have a lot of interesting choices for people as they get past, you know, what used to be the old level cap, and they really start kind of, I guess you can consider these like Paragon classes in D&D. Like these are, you know, the really high-end ways to customize your character with a lot of different options. So I think Pilot's one of the cooler ones because it lets you, they're actually animations that unlock. A few of your listeners by now have probably seen like the GIF of the barrel roll. Yeah, so that's what this thing is, and like you unlock this one, and then as you get more points, you can choose to unlock these other ones. Yeah, Jocelyn did a really good job on this UI, and she actually handled all the icons and stuff.
Oh, she did. I was about to ask. She did the icons.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing to note is up here along each. This is a bar, a progress bar, and so you can click on this little icon here, and it'll tell you what each tier gets you. So intelligence is really the thing to do that. So at tier 1, you unlock, you know, more abilities. It's 8 points, and you spend. So as you level up, you earn specialization points. They're kind of notified down here. And as you earn specialization points, you can spend them to unlock these powers. As you spend them, this progress bar fills up, and as you hit each little lock, that unlocks that tier, and that lets you use, you know, like intelligence kit modules, for example, or get certain traits. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, and so these numbers along the side are points spent. So it takes 10 points to unlock tier 3.
Yes. Okay. So if you put 10 of your specialization points into the intelligence tree, that opens up the tier 3 of intelligence tree. So that would just go down the list here and fill up the bar and everything. So and even if you were you know, to one of the nice things is you'll never stop earning specialization points. So I think how we have it is that even if you, I might be wrong about this, but my impression was that even if you somehow maxed out all of these, every time you level up, you get a point, right? Even after level 60, you're still going to get points. So when you hit level cap, you're still going to be able to unlock new abilities for your captain using this system. So it's pretty exciting from an end game point of view, that you're going to be able to, even while you're doing your reputation, reputation queues and all that stuff, you're still going to be able to pretty regularly unlock new abilities, not just through the reputation traits, but also through the specialization system.
So what's been the most challenging thing for you in developing for Delta Rising?
Oh man, I've been all over the place personally. I mean, we've had this, which Jocelyn took the lead on. I helped out a little bit with it, but I've also done a lot of. We just came off of it wasn't really part of Delta Rising necessarily, but while we were working on Delta Rising, I was also doing it the Odyssey, transitioning all the uniforms over to Odyssey and all that stuff. I've started to do some work on ships. I'm going to be doing more work on ship art. And one of the things I just finished was adding Federation decals to the intelligence starships. And people, when they get their intelligence ships, they'll see now that they have like little Starfleet pendants and things like that. So learning that process has been really challenging. Ships are really hard to make. I think the guys probably took you through all that when they showed you. It's mind-bogglingly complex. There are so many steps and so many different things you have to do. It's really not. It's not just like, well, why can't you guys just make a New Orleans? I would love for them to make a New Orleans class, but maybe I'll get to do it someday. But you can't just sit down and model a ship and be done. There's literally days of work you have to do after the actual art is finished to get that ship into the game. So learning that has been challenging. Just kind of juggling all the assets needed. There are a lot of in STO, and the reputation system is kind of a big offender. We have a lot of screenshots, right, of different assets in the game, of the character art, like the armor and things like that. But the problem is that we can't make these UI assets until the actual character art assets are finished. We can't take screenshots of something if it doesn't exist. So a lot of people notice on Tribble that the reputation art doesn't really drop until maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the thing comes out, and that's because we're waiting for all these different assets to show off to be finished so that we can actually put the art into the game. So things like that, I think, managing our time and waiting, getting the stuff from the other teams so that we can take all the screenshots we need for the reputation system. For if there was a fleet, there's not a fleet holding, but that's another thing that we need everybody else to do their work before we can start doing ours. So the UI workflow is pretty backloaded in the sense of, and that's one of the reasons I had the time to do the Odyssey uniform revamp and all that, is because I couldn't really do any of this other stuff until we had we had the reputation art done, or until systems had finished designing a specialization system. So there's a lot of time at the beginning where UI doesn't really have a lot to do, so we find other things to do, and then the stuff we need to do doesn't really happen until about a month or so before Delta Rising is supposed to come out, or maybe 2 months. So that's probably the hardest thing. It's just the pace that we have to deal with when working with everybody else.
You mentioned that you're working on ships. Is that something that you are hoping to do full time?
I definitely still want to stay involved with UI. I know that'll make some people unhappy and some people sad. I think I don't want to lose that skill set, certainly, and I'm really invested in the UI of STO, having put so much work into it and having remade it for Legacy and Romulus. In terms of UI work, obviously Delta Rising was a lot less because we didn't have to make a new faction UI or anything like we did with Legacy and Romulus. We certainly didn't completely revamp the UI for the game. So I still want to be involved with the game's UI. We have another UI artist now, Jocelyn, and, as I mentioned, and she's really great. She's been doing a lot of really cool stuff. I'm excited to just help her out and kind of but spend some time on ships and kind of broaden my skill set too, so that I can be more helpful in more areas. Like the example of doing the decals on the Intel ship was something that I was like, oh, I think this would be really cool, and I was able to actually have the skill set to implement it myself. So I'm happy to be able to do that in more areas to just make the game feel as Trek as it can.
What now? So we just started seeing the UI on holodeck for the kit upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that, about designing something like that, and what do you take into consideration when you have to create a new UI system for a new feature of the game?
So you're talking about the upgrade system?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was another thing that was actually one of the first things that Jocelyn did when she got here. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of mock-ups and iteration. I don't think this character has any upgrade items. But Jocelyn is really been really great for us because she has a really strong background in working with usability. I think she has I'm gonna say one of her degree is like in computer interaction or something like that. So she she's been really helpful in making sure that a lot of stuff is intuitive and easy to use, and a lot of the things we've been adding to the game, adding the UI slowly over the past few months, like Quick Equip. Remember when we added that? I mean, that's something I don't have an upgrade right now, but that's something that flows really well into this system because it's just you click here and you pick your upgrade and do your thing. So it's I think we want it to feel intuitive, obviously, and I think it makes sense that you start with a Mark 12 and then you upgrade it, and eventually you're going to get to a Mark 13. And just play testing, and it's always a process, and hopefully we've got it down to a point where people are pretty comfortable with it when they start playing with it. The other thing that you have to do always is finding a language for your icons. And so when we did crafting, that was a really big thing for, okay, so the orange things are always going to be crafting materials, and then the blue, that means it's a component or whatever our new component. So like building languages like that in the icons is really important, and so Jocelyn did that too with the upgrade system icons. And hopefully it's pretty apparent when you.
So what type of feedback have you been getting regarding the new types of UI that have begun to trickle down on Turbo and on holodeck, and what changes, if any, might players see?
Sure. Well, I think we've already we've cleaned up the specialization window a lot based on player feedback. In terms of how we name the buttons, kind of listing specialization points and things like that. And you can't see it here because this projector is pretty dark, but we've also cleaned up visually, like we've added some themed backgrounds to these windows and things like that. I mean, really, Delta Rising's biggest challenge from a UI perspective, aside from like the upgrade system and the specialization system, a lot of the stuff we were working on was crafting. Doing crafting the new off UI for season 9.5, and that we were working on pretty much right up to the launch of it, and then it was all about generating the assets we needed for Delta Rising. The specialization system and the upgrade system were kind of the two only new types of UI we made. Everything else was just, okay, we have all these new bridge officer powers. I mean, I guess that's the other thing is having this character doesn't have any, but figuring out how we tell you that you have an Intel Bridge Officer, like where do you see that? And so getting the UI to display that here, like a little intelligence icon, and things that the UI just wasn't equipped to do before.
I noticed a little earlier during our demo of some of the new ships, I noticed that the tray has the same color icon as always, but a little purple.
So things like
bucket.
that. A little purple arm, so that you know it's an Intel hybrid slot, and then these icons would have a little purple gem. In here would have a purple gem telling you it's an Intel officer. So adding all that stuff to existing systems to integrate it with the bridge officer specializations in a way that we can expand in the future, so that inevitably we're going to have more bridge officer specializations. So just making sure the game can support all that going forward, and making what we do for Intel being able to, as a UI artist, and when you're doing all this stuff, you have to think about, okay, this is how we handle it in this task. We have to make sure that it works for everything. So if we want to keep doing more of these, it's easy to scale the system. So I don't even remember your question. About feedback. Sorry.
Yeah, feedback.
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't heard too much. I think that's the what I was going for, though, is we did we did respond to feedback on the specialization window. I think that's the one new major piece of UI for Delta Rising. Most of it is going to be in content and missions and things like that. Is there a queue server? The other thing I did do, and I haven't heard any feedback about this, but update the queue window to show more easily what is.
Oh, that is so helpful.
What is like a normal difficulty and advanced difficulty, and then I don't know if I can access any elite queues here, but they would be red with 3 chevrons or whatever. So, so this was a new way of handling it compared to the original. Elite. If you remember, Elite just had the red fade on it or whatever, but this is a little more cohesive, and you can see it right here. This skill isn't arbitrary anymore. This actually means this is the advanced version of the queue, this is the elite version of the queue, or this is the normal version of the queue. So you can see that in the list here, and you don't have to try to find it in the name, right, which version you're looking for. So little refinements about that. We're like that all over the game. We're kind of the UI goals for Delta Rising.
That's nice, actually.
And the other thing, too, speaking of UI refinements, was the sector block paintovers. Which that I finished just recently. We did it for the Delta Quadrant sectors, and then after we did it for the Delta Quadrant sectors, we wanted to make sure that we spent a lot of time. Oh, that was actually, this is probably the most challenging thing, was doing the galaxy map. I kind of repressed memories. So you guys haven't seen this? Yeah.
Yes, this is on triple. But I mean, I saw a glimpse of it.
Right.
But yeah, this is.
You had also tweeted it out.
Yeah, I tweeted it out. So this was a huge undertaking. It really originally wasn't going to be a big deal. We were going to try to add the new Delta Quadrant sectors to the existing galaxy map, but we didn't have the source file for it anymore. So I couldn't open it up in Photoshop and just move things around. So it just became a thing. It's like, well, I guess we got to make an all new galaxy map. So that ended up being a huge project. It ended up taking 2 or 3 weeks to get this done, and it was kind of out of left field. But it was kind of cool because it meant I could go in and add special icons for different landmarks, so it was easier to find them, make it a little prettier, and also obviously add the Delta Quadrant to the galaxy map. That was the reason we had to do it in the first place. But anyway, because we did this, we also had to. We realized that it was a really big improvement in terms of when you're flying around in sector space, and you can see. This is just a regular sector map, right? So we have the galaxy map here, but when I go to my area map, I can still kind of see a zoomed-in view of that sector map. And we've got the Kobali symbol there in Kobali Prime, and we've got the Genolan Dyson sphere. And what the other nice thing about this is, when I go to my system list, those icons are here as well. So it's easier to pick out the important things. So if we go to Sirius Sector Block, I can show you kind of it's really, I think this is really going to help people who are new to the game when they start right out, because it's going to be a lot easier to go back to Earth Space Stock, for example, because it'll be, in that list of places, it'll call out very clearly where it is.
Do you think there will ever be a transwarp option for the Delta Quadrant?
I think so. That might be a reputation reward for the Delta reputation.
That would be great.
I believe it's in there on triple.
Oh, is it?
It used to be part of the. It used to be an ability of the Delta Alliance Warp Core, but now it is a reputation reward.
So let's see if it's an early reputation.
There it is, tier 1.
Yeah, transwarp Delta Quadrant sector block. Yeah, so just
Awesome.
finish your tier 1, and then that doesn't really take a long time. So yeah, so this is a serious sector block. So you've got the Sol system there with the Earth space dock. You've got Wolf 359. You've got Ryza. You've got the transwarp gate. So the important landmarks are called out with those icons. And again, in this system list, you got all
That's
that.
a nice
shit
touch.
there. So
Yeah,
Very
that
nice.
is great.
Oh, the other UI change would be the tier 5 upgrades and the tier 6
that is
ship masteries.
Yep, that's something that I did work on. So that was fun. That was fun to do, figuring out like how it presented itself, and that also gave us an opportunity to go and kind of not revamp this totally, but improve it a little bit.
Mhm.
We took away so if you remember, it used to be like this, right, where you had all these things in a list, but they were all on the screen, and you only had so much room to actually look at stuff, and you couldn't. So this paper doll needs some work now, but right, so it didn't scale with the size of the window like this, but now I go here and I look at my stats, I can see a lot more
Much better.
of the stats, and I can collapse and expand more than one at once.
So my request
Uh-huh.
is only for that panel
Right.
to just unpin, so I can move it to the side, and then like you know how Windows has arrow.
Right.
So then if I change a console, I could see the numbers change automatically.
Right. So you want something like, let's see, I'll do this. So you want something like that.
Yes.
Oh, cool. I didn't even know that was.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll talk to our UI programmer about doing that.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
So adding the upgrade and Starship Mastery thing let us kind of update this window, give it a little bit of love. There's still a lot we could do here, but and then let us fix the loadout UI and make it a little easier to navigate and use and to see all your loadouts at once. I don't know. I guess the shard I'm on doesn't have a C-store, so I can't click on the free upgrade button. But yeah, so that was pretty easy. I mean, that was really easy because it was pretty much all about, okay, well, we just need to show people what they get for upgrading, and we need to show each step of the experience you gain. So, I mean, that's just a progress bar. No, the only interaction you have with it really is you look at it, you upgrade your ship, and then you just look at it.
Right.
Because all the XP you're getting goes automatically into the ship and just unlocks every tier. So in terms of designing a UI to interact with, that was really, really simple. But it was fun. I wish I could pull up the actual upgrade window because I was really happy with how it turned out. But seeing your ship, a kind of like side-on view of the ship, and
Do you have to be out of ship NPC for that?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so
Cool.
and having this is what it was, this is what it is. So just showing that all that information, and these are the powers you get. Oh, we should have a tooltip. Oh, okay, great. For a second, I thought I didn't have a tooltip. And then showing, this is your new console that you get for upgrading. So it was actually pretty straightforward to do this, but it was fun. So it's probably, you can't really see on the projector, but one of the things I actually did was change that all the tech in the background changes based on your UI skin. So that text is actually in Romulan because I'm using the Romulan UI skin now.
Oh.
Cool.
And then if you change to Klingon,
Oh,
now it's in
cool.
Klingon. So I did 3 versions, right, for the different UIs, and so customizing like that. And like this icon is actually the same as that icon, which means that it changes based on your ship.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, as you see, like it just picks whatever ship you're using, and that was so figuring out. I like solving problems like that use existing assets to make the game feel really polished and thorough. Go back to Federation.
Very cool.
So yeah, in general, I'm really excited about Delta Rising. I actually haven't really played much locally myself, I've been really looking forward to playing it on live with my live characters. So I actually don't know much about the story. I've been trying to stay as spoiler free as I can working here. but yeah, I hope that I'm also excited about all the new systems we got in place for captain specializations. I think that's going to be some really fun stuff, and having the new bridge officers to choose from. Doing all the icons for those powers was fun, and it made me really excited to try them out. So hopefully people enjoy it when it hits holodeck.
I think we will. I think everybody will. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to touch base on before we go?
No, I don't think. I'm just really excited for people to get to the Delta Quadrant and meet up with. Obviously, we're all really excited about all the new, all the Voyager talent we've got in the game, everybody get in your Odyssey uniform and
it's growing on me. The tactical one is growing on me.
Awesome.
Well, Thomas, thank you so very much for sitting down and chatting with us while we were here visiting Cryptic Studios. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and you do such amazing things for not only the community but Star Trek. Really, it's fantastic. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here, guys. Enjoy the rest of your time at Cryptic.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure thing.